Much bigger turnout than at last year's Hasbro panel. You were here. Sorry we weren't, but we're back, and hopefully, we'll never leave. That's the idea. So, thank you very much for turning out today, guys. We were able to save some things to show you this year, and that's what we're going to take you through. Mark, why don't you let's take it away.
Good morning, and my first JoeCon, so I'm thrilled to be here. I've had a chance to meet some of you already, hope to meet the rest of you as the convention goes on. Our booth will be more interesting after the panel, I promise. And either Daryl or I should be around for the rest of the convention, and really want to talk to fans, get to know the fans, let them get to know me a little bit, and as we all move forward and get some G.I. Joes. So, we're going to start with meeting the team. It's a small team, but focused. And most of you, I think, know or have met Daryl the Priest. But some things you might not know: wrote the collectible G.I. Joe in 1998. Joined Hasbro in 2001. He has more G.I. Joes than you. Almost sure about that. But he does also have more Hawaiian shirts than Chuckles.
That is
true. Now, I'm new to the team, but not new to the brand. If I haven't had the chance to meet you yet, there's my beauty shot. Doesn't get prettier than that. That's as good as I got. Officially, I'm the manager of global brand development. I joined Hasbro in 2012. I managed the Transformers Generation segment up until September of last year. Lifetime 3 3/4 collector. So it's not new. Most interestingly, my skin turns purple in the sun like Zartan.
Well done. So I want to say we're the team that's here, but we're not the only team that's working on G.I. Joe. So we're representing our design and our engineering and our project management team and packaging team. We have a whole team that's dedicated and passionate behind G.I. Joe. We just couldn't get any of them here this weekend. They're all hard at work on Joe related and other things too. So our main designer is John Violet. So John, we were trying to get here, but he's got a pressing project, and we had to let him not come. So he gave us his notes for inspiration, which we're going to salt in throughout the presentation. So John Violet he was the designer of last year's TRU 50th line, the designer of the line we're going to show you, and we're working on John for the future of Joe. So he effectively took over for John Warden, who many of you remember and love very well. So he kind of took the baton handoff, and on our first conversations with John Violet, we realized he's just as crazy and deep into Joe as John Warden was. So you've got a spirit. He's got a little bit of a different approach, but that spirit and that passion runs deep. It's you guys personified. So,
moving ahead, next thing we're going to get into is how the Joe brand is being activated with some of our partners out there, and Daryl's going to walk you through.
So, the G.I. Joe brand, of course, has such a deep heritage in American pop culture that we have a lot of folks who come to us and want to partner with us on expressing that. And so we've got some great partners, and there's a lot more to come here too. So I'm just going to give you a sample here. First of all, it's IDW Publishing, and they're a great program, fantastic storytelling partners to have here, and they've got 3 current books. The first book is written by Karen Travis, the core G.I. Joe book. It's a very different approach to G.I. Joe, and what we love about that is it's kind of typical of what G.I. Joe and comics represent. G.I. Joe has been such a different, mutable canvas where you can tell lots of different stories. You see a lot of different experimentation over the years, and Karen's got another unique take on G.I. Joe. Larry Hama's book, remains, front and center, one of the cornerstones of the line. We couldn't be prouder to continue to work with Larry to bring out, new storytelling that ties to the core, stories that we loved growing up. I say we, I read it later than a lot of you guys did, but that's what I fell under the spell with, in G.I. Joe. I started reading Larry's comics, and then whoosh, I had to be absorbed into the 3 3/4 world as well. So it's a dream come true to see Larry's vision continue. And then of course occasional miniseries stories, the current one by Mike Costa, an amazing writer who just does such amazing stories. Anyway, IDW is a fantastic partner, and we look forward to kind of the next generation as it evolves. One really special new project that was started about 1.5 years ago, I think, is a partnership with Amazon and their Kindle Worlds program. Now, what's really different in today's world, social media and the ability to distribute content has upended everything. The internet has been the most disruptive innovation of our lives. And at the same time, it presents unique opportunities. Everybody has a voice. I was talking to some folks earlier. Is DeWitt out here in the audience? DeWitt, right there. So DeWitt and I go back to the early days of Usenet news groups, right? Alt.toys.gi Joe, back in the day when we were posting. Really the first time that people could start to post publicly, our passion and kind of contribute to the lore and collecting of G.I. Joe. Today that can be expressed in a much different way. Partnering with Kindle Worlds, we have been one of the very first brands that has allowed us to give control to the fans. And Kindle Worlds is a publishing program where literally fans can immerse themselves, they can own G.I. Joe and write their own visionary storytelling for G.I. Joe. And, unlike, other companies that may say, well, that's not, canon or that's not official, we're kind of letting you, the fans, democratically embrace Kindle Worlds. And I'm very proud to say that on Kindle Worlds, we have, you can put up the titles now. These are some of the authors who will be here today on the panel. So Justin Bell, Bill Nidro, Troy Osgood, amazing writers who have not only embraced the idea of writing stories, they've chosen to spend their time and efforts and energy writing G.I. Joe fiction. It's absolutely amazing. But the success story for me for Kindle Worlds is not just amazing books, and Mark has been absorbing all of these, and these are great stories. It's that G.I. Joe is the 3rd most popular universe of fan fiction on Kindle Worlds. I think it's behind a vampire fiction, one and something else. But the writers continue to pour their heart and soul into this, and it shows just how rich G.I. Joe is and how much passion fans have and unique storytelling entries in there. So this is an amazing program, and the success that G.I. Joe has had here is a testament, I think, to how powerful the brand is and was to your childhood. And I salute the authors who continue to put their stamp on this. And I encourage everybody to read these and pick up the ones. And Mark can, be another soundbite. So thank you again, guys. And come to the panel in a couple hours. We'll be there as well. I think I'll be chairing this. We'll have a very special announcement that will tie together Kindle Worlds and the world of action figures. Next, in the world of video games, there's going to be a lot of very interesting things unfolding in the next couple of years for G.I. Joe, but I want to talk about 2 real quick. G.I. Joe Strike. Hasbro took a controlling interest in Backflip Studios, one of the lead app game developers, a couple of years ago, and we're seeing their first G.I. Joe game called G.I. Joe Strike. It's a fun little, I wouldn't say it's a little game, it's an ambitious game for an app game, but that'll be coming out, I think, in a month, called G.I. Joe Strike. So look at that from Backflip. And then also a super cool game that came out actually at the beginning of the month is from Linden Labs, a version of their highly successful Blocks World games. They came to us and said, we want to license G.I. Joe and do a playable world with Blocks World. And if you guys haven't experienced this, maybe your kids have, it's a super cool experience here, and we've given them the iconic G.I. Joe library vehicles. So this is just a sampling of the things that are going on with G.I. Joe, in addition to the core toy line at Toys R Us right now. But more will come in the future. And I think one thing that everybody asks us is, what's going on with the movie, the next movie? And so, we'll tell you, G.I. Joe 3 is an idea. that there has been some public announcements out there, not by Hasbro, but little snippets of news. We're not going to disavow any of those. So it is a project that's moving forward, and as we work with the filmmakers, we'll continue to develop that. So we see that as the next big evolution of Joe, or the big, at least, amplification of Joe at retail. But where we don't have any information, any concrete news for G.I. Joe 3 to announce, that'll be Paramount's to announce. But that will, hopefully before too long, become very public. So we're here to tell you today how we're going to continue our 50th anniversary line.
Here we go. Anybody want to see product? Okay. So 2015, as I said in my interview with the G.I. Joe magazine, it's going to be similar constructively to what we did in 2014, and that means working with Toys R Us, who's been a fantastic partner for the Joe brand. So look forward to new product at Toys R Us coming this fall. If we want to take a little bit of a comparison, throw up a size chart looking at 2-packs, 3-packs, vehicle packs. 2014, we gave you 4 2-packs. This year we will give you 5. We gave you 3 3-packs. This year we will give you 4. And we had 2 vehicle packs last year, and this year we will give you 2, but a bigger 2. So let's take a look. Starting with our vehicle box sets coming out this fall at Toys R Us. And introducing the Desert Duel with the elite horseman from the Cobra Troops. And he's elite because he drives the Cobra Basilisk.
So a common thread that you'll see across our vehicle packs is the idea of some of our favorite, most iconic vehicles being co-opted by the enemy. The enemy could be either G.I. Joe or Cobra, taking and using their equipment in a new way. And the Basilisk was actually directly inspired by the club's use of the Snowcat in a super cool land-based way. Once we saw that, we said, it's been hiding in plain sight all this time that this awesome vehicle can be used in many different ways other than just a snow-based setting. And so here Cobra's captured it.
And 2 things I wanted to make clear. Everything that we show you today will be on display in our case in about an hour, as quick as we can put it together and put it up. And we are showing you the entire 15 line here today, so we're holding nothing back. Everything gets shown at JoeCon. It's a Desert Duel though, so you have to fight somebody. So somebody wanted Chuckles.
The only character I can cosplay with my closet.
And you might, if you can tell, you have to look kind of closely maybe, but it's a brand new head sculpt for Chuckles, and it's based off his look in Mike Costa's last storyline from IDW, which, if it's not everybody's favorite, it should be close. So Chuckles, of course, needs a ride, so we're introducing the faux striker. And faux, of course, meaning forward observation encampment. That's maybe a familiar gun, but it's never been on an Oz striker before, or a faux striker. So take a look at the new cannon, and what's a forward encampment look like? Now, I like to say it looks pretty good except for the canopy, because I cut the canopy out of felt because it wasn't back from the factory in time. So the canopy itself will get a little sharper, and it will get a little more camo when we get something in from the factory. So look for updated photography of that.
Now there's a number of new tool parts on here to take what is just a great canvas, the Striker canvas, and give it a totally new twist. So again, we give a ton of credit to John Violette for really thinking of a very new way to use this, and we love it, the environmental specific aspect to it. But on the front of the vehicle, you notice those are the jerry cans from the Vamp, and they've had a new tool piece to house that, plus a driver's shield. There's some new tooling modifications to the cage, so the gun can be put up on top, as well as the connection points for the canopy cover there. So.
And you've got your machine guns that attach to both kind of wings that rotate out from the driver and passenger side. So that's when you look at the faux striker. But as I said, you get 2 vehicle sets. So we definitely want to show you the silent strike, which includes a new look at the HISS tank. And not just bright orange in a septic tank sort of homage, but that's a brand new turret up there with a new railgun that we'll get a good look at in the case a little later on. And if it's a HISS tank, it has to have a HISS driver. But one thing that always struck me is that there was always a HISS driver, but there was never a HISS gunner. And that someone's got to be up there, so we have a tag team partner.
First time, HISS gunner. So he's basically the HISS driver with, I think it's the Night Viper's legs on this, but a brand new, trooper type that we haven't seen before. Again, it's something that's been so obvious. After how many, 7 versions of the HISS tank to date, we've never had a gunner, but now we do.
So the Silent Strike is again a sort of a dual pack, so you have your HISS tank, and it's going to fight a new look at our G.I. Joe Sky Striker.
So this is a stealth-inspired Sky Striker. It's not the Night Force, but it's more a stealth-inspired deco with some really new decals and tampo to be radar resistant.
So if it's a Sky Striker, it has to have a pilot. If it's a Sky Striker, it's probably Ace. One of my favorite Joes growing up, so nice to see a new look at Ace with a new helmet.
He's got, actually, I think it's Skydive's helmet.
And then this is something I'm particularly excited about. I really like new characters in Joe. As much as we all love the old ones, I think you need brand new characters too. And so to help spot for Ace on the ground, we're introducing a brand new character. This is Sightline.
Okay, so Sightline is a forward observer character. He's not the first one. I think that was Bomb Strike that we had. But this character is actually pretty special. I'm going to get all choked up. Elizabeth, are you here? Let's see. There she is. Hi, Elizabeth. So, Elizabeth and the kids. So, this figure was well in development when we got the tragic news of Gary's passing. But we hadn't yet created the packaging, any of the art for this, or in fact gone very far on the file card. We just knew we had a forward observer character named Sightline, who, as you notice, is a goggled character. So when we got the news, we quickly said, wow, how can we pay tribute to such an important part of our collecting community? Gary touched us all in ways that will continue to reverberate forever, I really think. The community has been forever changed, I think, because of Gary's presence and what he did. So we looked for a way to make a tribute, and kind of it was hiding in plain sight. Not only did we have a goggled figure, we hadn't named that figure. Now Hasbro has a policy that we no longer name any of our characters after real people, even if they're Hasbro employees. If they're fans on the outside who had a hand in the creation of our figures, we just don't do that anymore. It's policy across all of our lines. However, we went to legal and we challenged that, and we said, here's someone who touched us all, touched the community, and we want to break this rule. How do we do that? We're working hand in hand with you. And they gave us some instructions, and I reached out to Elizabeth and I said, we'd actually like to pay tribute to Gary and name our character. Go ahead and you can reveal it.
From Chicago.
Give it a place of birth, Gary's place of birth, and actually name the figure after Gary. So, So we asked Elizabeth's permission. That was one of the important things, and she said absolutely. That this is great. So what is symbolic about this figure? In many ways, it really hit us. It's a goggled figure. It's perfect. It fits what Gary was about. But in many ways, this guy's role on the team was to be in advance, out in front of everybody, kind of a visionary, if you would, and have a unique perspective that would help the Joe team. And in many ways, that's so symbolic of what Gary brought to the community. I mean, he was, you know, smug, elitist, and arrogant. Those are his own words, not mine. And collecting by its nature can be a very selfish pursuit, right? I've collected G.I. Joe for decades, and I've seen the covetousness, I don't even know if that's a word, but the secretiveness that we use sometimes when collectors, because we want to hold on to information and not let anybody chase the same thing we're chasing. So in a very, what can be a selfish pursuit, Gary was completely the opposite. I mean, I've never seen anybody who, you know, was into sharing the friendship and the camaraderie, and I say this with all candor, in my decades in G.I. Joe, I've never seen somebody who broke the conventions of collecting to build the fabric of a community and make it stronger than ever before. It was the opposite of selfishness. So again, Elizabeth, you know, this is our way to, you know, contribute a lasting legacy. So thank you very much for helping shape the husband that you have. So there's sightline.
So that wraps up our vehicle packs and moves to our Versus 2 packs. This is sort of our bread and butter SKU. And kind of nice to follow up. The tribute to Gary was something that sort of was out there, but sort of wasn't. And people have been waiting for it, at least a little bit. Does anybody have a red prop? And if there's been one common theme when I've talked to fans this weekend, it's been blowtorch. Well, how can I get blowtorch? Where's the blowtorch? Gotta have more blowtorch. So if we're gonna give you one, we should probably give you the one you want.
So they're identical, the exact figures.
And we promise these are coming to retail this fall.
It's not April 1st, they are coming.
So that's your Swamp Steam 2-pack. Another thing we've heard loud and clear, and a lot of people have given me their opinion on army builders and troop builders, and my response back is, I've already heard it. I hear it all the time because I have a troop builder. I report to a troop builder, and so importantly, if you're going to have a troop builder, you should probably have 2 troop builders.
So this is what makes our approach a little bit different than last year's 50th in the sense that we know the pain of having to buy 2 figures to get one that you really want. So our approach is going to be, when we're going to do troop builder 2-packs, actually make them a 2-pack so you don't mind getting a second army builder that you can get. So that's a little bit of a different slice. Now the other thing that we're here to do today, Mark, you didn't know this, he loves market research. His name is Mark, after all. So he is dedicated himself to listening and absorbing all of the figures that you guys want to see, you know, brought back and re-released, because we do have some limits on the number of new figures we can make, but we've got a good opportunity to re-release figures. So if there are ones you want to see, we definitely want to know that. And this is an example of figures that, you know, we did some research on and figure are very, very high demand. We'll get those back. It's hopefully the start of more things that we can do along these lines.
So that's our troop build-up 2-pack. Next up, we have a classic Clash and a brand new logo for you guys to look at from the vault. So who doesn't want a vault Storm Shadow? So we're bending reality a little bit here because this is actually a G.I. Joe figure, but there's no Joe logo on them, no Cobra logo on them. So Storm Shadow tends to kind of come and go and march to the beat of his own drum. So if you watch a cartoon, you know his arch nemesis is actually Spirit.
And the reason these two are paired together is John Violet, again, our designer, he decided that he really hadn't seen the iconic take on the 1988 Storm Shadow he wanted. So Storm Shadow has a new head and new legs, but then he was looking who to pair him with, and he said, well, the Snake Eyes is the cliche, but actually he got some information, it might have been from somebody here, that in the cartoon, Storm Shadow actually fought Spirit more than any other G.I. Joe character, so there's a natural pairing there, and he had a new take he wanted to do on Spirit. So, with Spirit's largely a Franken Joe, but a super cool version using I guess the Jungle Spirit head. So
So that's our classic clash. More to come, of course, the hunt for Cobra Commander. And this is, John Violette had an original take on what Cobra Commander could look like.
I don't know how you describe this one.
I don't know, it's a classic gun and a classic look and 2 peanut butter jars, apparently, down at the bottom.
Kind of a, I don't know, Crimson Guard review dress outfit or something. I'm not sure. With the battle helmet.
It's a good look, I like it.
It's a great look.
Someone has to hunt him, so from the vault, we'll give you a shipwreck.
Yeah. That's a slightly different deco of poly than I don't know if we've seen before.
I'm not sure if it's I think it might be a little different. I know if you take the vest off of Shipwreck, it says Navy right across the chest, so it's a great piece. It's a good classic look for him. Now, if you like your Cobra Commanders hooded rather than battle helmeted, there will be a second head, so you can dress him as you prefer.
And that guy's based on the Retaliation Cobra Commander.
So that's our hunt for Cobra Commander. And then last but not least, we have a set called Marine Devastation. And of course from the vault, we'd like to show you our Cobra Shadow Guard.
Super cool.
Good looking figure.
Why is it called Marine Devastation?
Well, it's not aquatic. But we listen to the fans, we know what you want. We'd love to show you.
Awesome figure.
And I'm not sure if the image even does it justice. This is a really big figure. So when you take a look at him in the case, it looks like the kind of guy you do not want to mess with. So there you go. And one of the things that John Violette pointed out on this was that he meticulously color matched this to the 1983 Gung Ho. So that blue is the exact same blue that his little brother wore 30-some years ago. So that takes us from our 2-packs. We also have our outnumbered 3-packs, which has been very popular with the collectors, and we'll have more of them coming up, including the Chase for the Mass device.
Now, a couple of these, like you saw in the 2-packs, are going to be re-releases. The idea behind this one is that 5 of 5 Mass device set was so hard to find, but the figures are in super high demand. So we noticed that, so we took those 4 figures and we actually split them into 2 different packs. So the first one, straight re-release, Cobra Claws Trooper. We've got the Glider, Cobra Commander, and then what line wouldn't be complete without a Duke? So these are re-release figures. So take those 3, but really the super high demand one was the Alpine figure.
Which comes in our Rock Rampage set, which gives you a Cobra Shock Trooper and a Rock Viper against everyone's favorite missing character, Alpine.
So sorry to the folks who have already paid like $50 or $60 at the show for these figures, some of these figures, that they're coming out again.
It gives you a chance to haggle up on the floor though and say, hey, it's coming out again. So that's our Rock Rampage 3-pack. And then Vanishing Act, which gives you some new accessories on the classic Deca Torpedo.
So this is his version, signature version of the 83 Torpedo, his take on it.
And one of the things I'm always happy about from Transformers and Ninja Joe is when we get a name back that we haven't been able to use. And so just being able to call this guy Torpedo makes me very, very happy.
That's nice.
And then his partner on the Night Patrol, and then Hit and Run. And this is one...
Now, the prototype isn't...
Yeah, there's a caveat to this one, and what you'll see up in the case, what we got from the factory is not exactly what we want it to be. So it will be closer to this image. The one in the case is kind of all gray, and then when I say all gray, I mean all gray.
Yeah, it looks like the Vitruvian Spartan is all gray.
So if you can help us defend that online when people go, it looks all gray.
So what we're doing is adding some of the iconic, tiger stripe into his face, into his forearms. Very similar to the club's deco mask for the iconic Hit and Run. So new take on Hit and Run, almost a Night Force Hit and Run.
So you get Torpedo and Hit and Run, but who are they chasing? Good looking Zartan right there. Crossbow is new for him, and you know who better to chase through the dark than Zartan. The Vanishing Ash 3-pack gives way to Sneak Attack, which is a totally different look at a couple iconic characters, including what Dusty dresses up like at night.
Everybody wanted a blue Dusty.
Pretty much.
Well, you're gonna get it. Thanks. I don't think anybody asked for this, but this is John's signature take on a couple of characters. It's his blue period, I guess.
We like to think this is Bazooka's road jersey. And
it's kind of the Carolina Panthers version of Bazooka, I think. Well, eventually we'll do all the teams. So.
And I'm not sure if the picture does it justice, but this is another large figure. He and Gung Ho are your bookend tackles. But who are they after? Firefly.
Oh, that's nice. So it's kind of a reversed gray version of Firefly. So John had this idea. First of all, he's updated him with all the best weapons we have to choose from, but then he kind of reversed out, I guess, the 83 color pattern for a kind of a different look on Firefly.
So that wraps up Sneak Attack, and as we get towards the end here, we do have some Hasbro convention exclusives to show you.
So just to end, so all the Toys R Us items are scheduled to be on shelf on 8/1, so all of them will hit 8/1. And so that's the TRU line. We've got 2 items for Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm. So our Comic-Con convention exclusives coming to San Diego, and we'll show you first our Crimson Strike.
So this is touching on what we said earlier, kind of flipping some conventional vehicles that have never been flipped before. Here is the Sky Striker, as if captured by Cobra and outfitted for, I don't know what, the Crimson Twins ceremonial flyover. But the deco here is actually, you know, as we were looking at the Sky Striker, there's some really cool molded in details here that almost look like the serrations of a snake. So we talked to John and we said, you know what, there's some, I mean, you'll see it when you see the model, but there's something very Cobra-like here. What can you do with it? He said, I know what I can do with it. So his idea was to deco it as if the Cobra is striking. So it's kind of the back of the Cobra leaning forward with the jaws of the Cobra, and it ties in nicely to the deco that's actually on the Sky Striker. It's like it was always meant to, you know, to be there to be a Cobra version someday. So Cobra Scythe.
Scythe. It's an advanced jet, but it doesn't fly itself. And much like the Silent Strike, it needs somebody on the ground as well. So it has an Alley Viper officer to help spot on the ground, and then a pilot as well in the Air Viper Advanced class. So that's your Cobra half of it, but it does have to fight something on the ground.
Oh, cool. There you go.
So if they can take a Sky Striker, I don't see why Joe can't take a Hiss with the brand new railgun turret.
Super cool look to this.
We put this together and influenced a lot by the early Joe vehicles, the Rapid Assault motorcycle and the heavy artillery laser. So when we were trying to name this, we tried to figure out exactly what we were looking at, and we figured that it was a captured, Hiss, integrated, mobile, energy, railgun, advanced. Add that all up, and you have the G.I. Joe Chimera.
So it's a one of a kind. You can troop build it if you want. It would cost you a lot, given that it's a Comic-Con exclusive. But very cool take on the classic Hiss being captured.
It comes with 2 characters as well, and guys, I think you know, someone who can shoot and someone who can drive.
There you go.
And to throw a tiny Easter egg out there for you, John Violette is from Pennsylvania, and so is Steeler, hence the Steeler name. So if you look real close, he's got a logo, but only on one side of his helmet. So that's our Crimson Strike pack.
I think we avoided NFL infringement.
Absolutely.
Presentation, good.
So one of the things that I think is really cool is the box that it's going to come in. Some really, really nice artwork there. And this is the Hasbro Toy Shop exclusive, so you'll be able to get this from the Hasbro Toy Shop this July Comic-Con. We do have 2. We have a different take, a little bit on the Desert Duel. We've plussed up that pack a bit For Comic-Con, by now you're very familiar with the Cobra Basilisk, and the driver, the Elite Horseman, will be a bonus figure that comes that is exclusive to the Comic-Con pack, and it's a different look at our Cobra Air Trooper, and that figure will only be available in that Comic-Con pack.
So that's a forward observer, forward spotter for Cobra, kind of the first time we've done that for Cobra as well.
And you've seen the Faux Striker, you'll see a Faux Striker in this pack as well as the encampment with my Bad Michael's Home Improvement canopy, which will get better. And then you see Chuckles, of course, who will come in the mainline pack, but there will be an exclusive figure in the Comic-Con pack, and this guy called Night Fox.
So this will be, I think, a better version of Night Fox. We've done it 2 times now. The last time was a crappy figure in Retaliation. So this will be a better version of Night Fox. So what makes this set different? This set is kind of like the Danger at the Docks version that Entertainment Earth sold for Toys R Us last year at Comic-Con. And Entertainment Earth will be selling this. This is a Toys R Us Comic-Con exclusive. The thing that's different though than last year is that it will come with 2 extra figures. It'll be the main base set you can get at Toys R Us, and it's these 2 extra figures that are going to differentiate it. Unlike last year though, oh, that's neat.
Just showing the
box art.
The box art.
This set will not go to brick and mortar. So assuming it doesn't sell out at Comic-Con, and I think we've brought a quantity that probably will. If it doesn't sell out, it'll probably go to brick and mortar, but it's not, it will go online. It's not slated to go to brick and mortar. Although we can't speak on behalf of Toys R Us on this one, so we don't know what their plan is, but we'll try and find out so you guys have an understanding just in case there's leftover inventory.
So you've got some really, really nice box art and 2 things to pick from. You can buy the Desert Duel and you can buy the Crimson Strike. But if you buy them both and set them up side by side, that's one big mural. And if you like that, I'll pub up the charity auction tonight because we created a one-of-a-kind print of that art, 40 inches by 14 inches, that will be available only tonight at the JoeCon charity auction.
So you'll have to outbid me for that. This is a cool piece.
And that is, there's one more thing for our Creo fans, and unfortunately, we're not allowed to say what it is. So we said, if we can't say it, could we bring in a guest speaker? And they said yes. Unfortunately, he can't tell you either. So stay tuned, this is something we're going to have a larger scale release for. You'll find out shortly, and I'm confident you'll like what we're going to do.
This will be a very, very cool set. And some other folks have asked about what's the status of Creo. So Creo is a very important initiative for us at Hasbro, and we're taking a long-term future of it. We know that Toys R Us is clearing out some of the current Creo stuff, and the Creo team had some great G.I. Joe items designed to go into retail within the next year that right now we're looking for the home, and we're hopeful that we'll find a retail partner to get that, but that is a couple of great waves of figures and some other sets. So we hope that continues, but Creo will have a long future for us, and I'm sure when we have an announcement of G.I. Joe 3, Creo is going to play a big part of that. It's been a wonderful expansion of the Joe brand for the last few years. We've been able to do some great sets, and hopefully, that will continue long into the future as well.
And that's our last slide. Thank you for coming, and thanks for supporting G.I. Joe.